Hey everybody, I'm Daryl Cagle, and this is the Cagle Cast from Cagle.com and Cagle Cartoons. We're a newspaper syndicate, and we have around 500 plus papers, and we have about 60 cartoonists that we represent. We put out about 120, 130 cartoons a week, and we have some great cartoonists, brilliant cartoonists, and one of the most brilliant is here with me today. I'm here with Monte Wolverton. Thanks for joining me, Monte.
Thanks, Daryl. Good to be here.
We're going to have a conversation with Monte and look at a bunch of his cartoons. And he's a featured cartoonist on our site now as we're trying to do crowdfunding for Monte. You know this, as newspapers die, so dies our only paying clients for the odd thing that we do. So something that we're going to try to do on Cagle.com is be kind of a Patreon for editorial cartoonists, to see if the fans can help support the cartoonists and keep them drawing as our clients fade away, because we don't want our art form to fade away. And I think editorial cartoonists are a very important part of the public debate, especially guys like Monte, who is a great progressive voice, a strong voice on the left. And those voices are going to be the first to die off, I'm afraid, as newspapers fade away, favoring the middle of the road cartoons and the conservative cartoons. What do you think about all this, Monte?
Well, I think it's kind of to be expected, the progression of things. Businesses change all the time, and we have to move with the dynamics. And I think that's what we're doing here. Oh, look, here's one of my cartoons.
There you go.
Uh,
It's Putin.
and you're going to read
And
that
we've got
cartoon.
rockets falling all over. They're falling on Ukraine, and it's really a visually interesting cartoon with all the rockets raining down. Putin says, "It's not too much, is it?"
Yeah. This was fun. It's kind of similar to one that I did about Muammar Gaddafi quite a few years ago. What would that have been? 10 years ago or so? Probably more. Except in his case, the rockets were falling on him. But who doesn't like visuals of a lot of rockets falling? Uh,
This
Putin
is
is
a nice,
making
strong visual.
it's
I
strong.
like this.
He's making
Not
a
one of your
sarcastic.
usual liberal cartoons, but it's
No,
uh, it's a
it's not
lovely
particularly
cartoon.
liberal. He's making a sarcastic comment. It's probably insensitive. That's the kind of guy he is. And but what's more insensitive than raining rockets down on top of people? You
That's
know?
true. Now, this
Yeah.
is a liberal cartoon, and I think that's kind of sad, because why the heck should this be a liberal cartoon? It's only because it's the conservatives that are trying to ban books. So you've got a cartoon that says books big at the top. You can ban them, you can burn them, you can bury them, but you can't beat them. And a big pile of books. That's a sad commentary, Monty.
It's sad. There's a guy named Jason Stanley who wrote a great book called How Fascism Works. And he points out in there that the banning of books, the suppression of information, the suppression of a free press is an early sign of incipient fascism. And this is what's happening in the country. We're not burning them yet, but we're banning them. But I thought I would take a positive approach here and just saying basically that you really can't suppress books, because if you burn one, if you throw one away, if you put it in the incinerator, or run it down the garbage disposal, which might clog your drain, then there's another copy somewhere that somebody's going to come up with. So you can't really get rid of books as much as you might try.
I just find it ironic that this is a cartoon from the left, but it is. That's
It is.
where we
Yeah.
live now. Okay, here's another one. This one shows three unattractive elephants. One is speaking to the others. The headline is "Defunding Public Education," and the elephant says to his brethren, "And when our plan is complete, only the wealthy will be able to afford education. Finally, the riffraff will be under our control." Monty,
So yes, this is, I just love drawing these kinds of elephants. They're kind of cuddly and kind of rubbery with that texture that I use there. So
you do have
they're
a very interesting, distinctive style with all the rubbery and the texture.
They're fun to draw, and I used to not put tusks in, and now I started putting tusks in for some reason. Anyway, the GOP, they continue to chip away and chip away and chip away at education or funding for education until eventually the idea, I think, is that the public schools will be so bad that nobody will want to send their kids there. And then the only people that will send their kids there are people who can't afford the private schools. Privileged can afford private schools, and the majority of citizens will be suppressed. I think that's the plan here. I just can't help but think that's the plan.
This is the kind of cartoon that I would expect to be popular on your social media and not reprinted in newspapers at all.
I believe it
Um,
was. I believe I don't was it reprinted?
I didn't check the stats on this one, but, cartoons that are, strongly Republican bashing from the
Yeah,
left tend not to get much ink because, editors like to be middle of the road. They like to do things that nobody's
yeah.
gonna disagree with. But on your social media, your fans are all progressive like you, and these are the cartoons that they like best. The harder you're bashing the Republicans,
Yep.
the more they love it.
Yeah, I got a lot of likes, for this one on Facebook, as I
That's one of
recall.
the things that I think is interesting is we're trying to do the crowdfunding for the artists. Um, what an interesting difference it will make in the work of editorial cartoonists if their client is their fans rather than the newspaper publishers, because the fans want the strong, hard-hitting cartoons that cartoonists love to draw, and cartoonists are constantly frustrated by the newspaper editors who want the namby-pamby, don't take any position cartoons. We may see a change in the whole nature of editorial cartooning if we can get support from the fans instead of the newspapers.
This could be a very good thing.
Well, it would make the cartoonists happy. We're in a kind of a funny situation where our traditional audience has actually, it's the I don't know, it's so much the audience, but it's the editors who want to not get any letters that disagree as their circulations plummet. Cartoonists love the hard-hitting cartoons, and our fans, who tend to agree with us, love the hard-hitting cartoons, and our clients do not, and that's just it's very frustrating and something that may change as the newspapers go away, and maybe it's our fans that support us, and even more eyeballs are on our work because we've got the internet.
So true.
Well, I'm hoping that may be true with our crowdfunding for you, Monty. You're the first one that we're trying this for. It's an individual cartoonist on bagel.com, and I'm hoping that your fans and people who appreciate your point of view. I don't expect many conservatives would make a contribution to you. Those of like mind are contributing to Monty because we want to keep Monty drawing as the newspapers go away. And, you can make that possible by going to kagel.com/Wolverton and give Monty a couple bucks and keep the liberal cartoons coming.
And gratefully, we acknowledge your contribution and thank you for your support.
Okay. Here's another one. This is the people, and they're watching Biden on TV signing a $1.7 trillion spending bill. And the says, yet another government shutdown narrowly averted. Oh, the drama.
This is one of those a couple watching the news and making commentary on it cartoons, which seems to be a nice little device. The cartoon is really not about the $1.7 trillion spending bill. I like to call it a spending bill. It's just a bill, which was signed by God's grace, but not without the big idiotic debt ceiling drama that goes on and on and on, and will happen again later this year and next year and the year after until they change that stupid law. So that's kind of what I'm saying here, or what the
Good,
what the couple is saying, I guess.
good for a lot of cartoons. Bad for
Yep.
everybody, though.
Yeah.
I draw a lot of couple watching TV cartoons too, because actually it's a cheap cartoonist trick and it lets us draw on any subject without having to worry about how to draw that subject.
Well, yeah, it
And
is a cheap trick.
and when I do it, I draw a point of view from the back of the television so I don't have to draw what's on the screen. So, I am certainly lazier than you.
I could have done that, but, in this case, you had to show Joe signing the bill, kind of. So that works that way. Yeah, yeah, that would have been a lot easier to just do a yeah, but then I would have had to draw the cords and stuff that hook up the TV, and that's
Yeah,
kinda
I do
complicated.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so here's the mental hospital, the asylum for the fiscally demented, and the crazy Republican elephants are all in their straitjackets, looking crazy and demented, and the doctors are standing there saying, "Okay, time for your medication." Monty,
Yeah,
what
this
the
was
heck is going on here?
this was about, Biden's, comment that the GOP is fiscally demented or at least has some kind of cognitive dissonance about fiscal matters. Uh, they're
So this is a
they
cartoon based on a Biden quote.
It is, yes. They seem to have forgotten that they cut revenue, a few years ago, and now we have a giant debt, which is the cause of the giant debt. I wanted to draw what, being fiscally demented looks like, and it looks exactly like this. I've seen it many times. Some of my friends, they look like this. With the absence of the trunk, maybe.
You know, I should add, Monty, you have a very distinctive style, and it's very reminiscent of your father, who was a, a great and famous cartoonist, a cartooning historical figure. Basil Wolverton was one of the founding gang of idiots in Mad Magazine, and it's fascinating that you're a chip off the old block.
Well, I when I started off doing comic strips and stuff in college, it wasn't exactly the same way. But then later on, I started kind of picking up my dad's Deacon style and all the little lines and all the stippling and stuff, which takes a lot of time. But in fact, an editor once told my father, he said, "You cover up your lack of talent with all those little lines." So I don't know if this is true in his case, but it's probably true in my case. And
Well,
here's misinformation.
misinformation. So you've got another ugly Republican elephant with his
Oh,
big
I think he's
trunk.
cute. Is he cute? He's cute. Look at his cute little tusks.
Okay. He's
Okay.
a cute Republican elephant, and he's got his, trunk sticking out saying "Misinformation," and hanging on it is signs, "Whitewash Black History," "QAnon," "Stolen Election," "Immigration," "Voting Rights." Um, good looking and very clear, editorial cartoonists like signs and labels.
Signs of labor. Oh, these are all subjects that are I don't want to say hackneyed subjects, but stuff that we do every day. So this comes as no, it's not a new thing, but as perhaps it's a new way. I've never seen anybody take the trunk and do this with it. And did you know, Daryl, that there are 14 segments in an elephant's trunk, and there are 14 letters in the word misinformation. Coincidence? Is it a coincidence?
That's fascinating. So you based this cartoon on elephant anatomy.
No, that's just misinformation. You need to be more critical in your thinking, Daryl. I think you do.
Okay, very good, Monty. This next one is the old man in the hospital. He's got. I should add that I explain all of these cartoons because this is also an audio podcast, and people are listening to this and not knowing what the pictures are. If you want to look at the pictures, you can come to our KegelCast.com site. Go to my blog at darylkegel.com, where I will post the cartoons. And you can also go to kegel.com/Wolverton, which is Monty's fundraising landing page that I hope you go to most, and that will show you an archive of all of Monty's latest cartoons, and Monty will talk about what he's doing and why it's great to support a liberal cartoonist, as the liberal cartoonist will be the first in our profession to die as newspapers go away. So I'm reading these cartoons for those of you that are listening to the audio podcast, and if you want to see the cartoons, they're easy to find. And you can also subscribe to our video podcast, and then you don't have to chase after the cartoons. So, old man in the hospital, he's got a bag of blood going into his arm. He's got the beeping machine. He's looking at his bill, and he says, "Gasp," and he looks like he's about to die. And the caption is USA, arguably the only wealthy nation that doesn't make certain all its citizens have affordable health care.
Well, he could be an old guy. I think he's really only in his 30s. He's just had a hard life, and lost
Uh,
all his teeth, which reminds me, of
of cartoonists, we're all old guys. Almost all the cartoonists are over 60, and, almost all the newspaper readers are also over 60. So we are drawing for a like group, but we do get a lot of criticism for not being diverse and not having younger people in the profession. And that is frustrating, but I think kind of understandable. Young people are not really eager to get into a field where you have older people drawing for older people. We do get a lot of criticism for that, and we do get a lot of unsolicited submissions from people over 60
Mhm.
and not from young people. And that is, it is frustrating, but understand. You have some comments on that?
People are putting off healthcare. Older people are putting off healthcare. Younger people are putting off healthcare, because they can't afford it, because they can't afford the insurance, and then things get worse, and and then they have to take out a loan or sell their house to afford major stuff. And what if they don't? What if they don't have a house? Look at this guy. Look at the way his EKG looks up there. It's terrible. It's because he put
But
off
that
the
is a
treatment that
terrible
he needed.
EKG.
Yes, it is.
I might point out that younger people tend not to think about and worry about healthcare so much as
They
older
don't.
people. And in their publications or the web stuff that they visit, they tend not to see much discussion of the issue.
Well, until they need it. My comment to young people would be, well, it's coming for you. So it's an issue.
It
It's a
is an
serious
issue.
issue.
Okay, here's the GOP ugly elephant, cute elephant, and he is giving a presentation, and on his paper flipboard, the paper is blank, and the caption is "The GOP reveals its plan to stop inflation," and of course, there is no plan because the paper is blank.
There's no plan. The paper is blank. It could be argued that neither do Democrats have a plan to stop inflation, but that's largely because inflation is caused by worldwide economic forces and not just politics. But the GOP likes that because it can be used as a bludgeon for Biden. It likes inflation. So
Another cartoon that your readers would like, and yet the newspaper editors probably would, simply because it takes a position.
it does take a position. I thought newspaper editors would probably buy this one, but I don't think they did so much.
Okay, here's Lady Justice, and she's got her sword, and she's chasing after Trump, who we know because he's got his red tie. She says, "You'll never escape. I can smell your tanning spray."
Yeah, well, justice is eventually going to catch up to Mr. Trump there. One issue that I faced with this was this is a statue. It's a statue of justice. It's a personification. So should I do it as a statue with gray skin? That looked kind of weird. Or is it a humanesque sort of entity? I chose the humanesque version because it's a little more fun. So that's the way
Well, I
that
also
turned
think
out.
of justice as having one boob hanging out. And, that's one of those taboos for us too, that we get a lot of complaints from the European cartoonists. "Ha, ha, ha, you Americans cannot draw such things." And we actually can't because, yeah, of course, you can draw whatever you want, but if you drew it, nobody would print it. Um, so that's another source of frustration for us. That makes the French call us prudes.
Yeah, I don't know if this is exactly the shape of the justice statue, but I thought handled it in good taste. I don't
It's
know.
a
I have
charming
to ask a
custom
Frenchman.
statue.
Yeah.
I should say we go to a editorial cartooning convention. I think it's the best editorial cartooning convention in the world every year in France, and you're one of the regulars there, and the French are just it's just a wonderful place to go where they really appreciate editorial cartoons. I
Yes.
love going to the convention. Saint-Just-le
You go
Martel.
somewhere where you're truly appreciated.
Here people tend to hate us. At least we hear more from those people.
Yeah, we're so divisive, you know? Look at me.
We
I'm
are.
divisive.
The biggest newspaper chain in America, Gannett, which not long ago had close to 500 papers, decided to drop all editorial cartoons in all their papers because editorial cartoons are divisive. That's a terrible but illustrative story of what's happening with newspapers.
Actually, we're not divisive. We may do some divisive things, but we're trying to, at least I am, to get people to pull back and take a broader view and laugh a little at the stuff that's happening and not take it so seriously.
There were the years of the Trump administration where cartoonists were drawing, I would say a majority of cartoons were about Trump. And they just didn't get printed because editors would not print cartoons about Trump. And I recall the frustration among cartoonists, you among them, me. We wanted to draw Trump, and you're drawing it only for yourself because it's just not printed.
That's why I took to putting Trump slightly off out of the frame in a lot of cartoons. Because
Do you
all you
think
got
that
to have,
helped?
yeah, all you got to, I don't know, all you got to have is a red tie. You know, it's Trump.
Well, that certainly makes them easier to draw.
It does. Yeah, and that.
Okay, so this next cartoon has the header, Holiday Scammer's Dream Victim. And the nutty-looking nerd says, "Oh boy, a free smart TV. All I have to do is give them my credit card information and social security number to cover the shipping."
That's very good characterization. Unfortunately, there are plenty of vulnerable people like this out there who keep scammers in business,
I
and a
think
lot of them.
particularly among the elderly audience of newspapers.
That's just exactly what I was going to say. Probably my age and older. But here, I didn't paint him as an older person. I used one of my characters. I like to reuse characters. This is my wide-eyed, earnest, naive character. I think I used him as a cult member or something once, but I've used this guy a number of times before, and he seems to work here. And I thought, this would be a nice public service thing to draw people's attention to the fact that you need to think twice when somebody calls you and asks.
And I do enjoy all your cross-hatching. And, very often, Monty, you draw hair that looks like it came out of a Play-Doh extrusion mold.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I don't know how else
Okay.
to do it.
Okay, next cartoon. Couple are looking at two burning fires of social media and crypto. And the man says, "What's that? Arson, terrorist, insurrection, a Russian missile?" And the lady says, "No, just natural socioeconomic forces at work."
That's good. It almost sounded like I was out of Monty Python. Um,
Oh,
uh, yeah, here's another case of a couple commenting on the news, and except they're not looking at the television; they're looking at
some
some
burning
fires and
signs, which makes sense for us editorial cartoonists because we do so many labels and signs.
labels and signs, and then smoke and stuff. Smoke and fire are always in the news, so you can kind of play off of that. And I think this one got fairly good results, if I recall correctly, even in newspapers. It's not it's not really partisan. It's
Yes, not really left or right. And then when the news is about burning social media and burning crypto, editors like. So here's some more burning. The header is "Welcome to the epoch of fire, and the city is on fire," with the devil in front. And the devil says, "I thought it was what you wanted. I mean, based on what you've done to the environment. But anyway, you'll get used to it.
Yeah, here's another character. I've used the devil character a lot, and I have this one devil that I do. What he's suggesting here that's different, I think, is that we're really getting collectively what we deserve. Unfortunately, that's not exactly the way it works. The people on the bottom of the economic ladder are getting the brunt of stuff, and the people on the top, well, they can always get in their private jet and fly away from the fire. But perhaps that's the subject of another cartoon.
Good looking city on fire.
Yeah, city on fire. It's not really burning, is it? The fire could be behind the city, but in any case,
It's coming up on the
yeah,
city.
yeah, it's probably getting warm in those buildings there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This one, the header says, a gun violence victim speaks from the afterlife. Your thoughts and prayers and $4 will get me a cup of coffee. Now go pass some real gun control laws.
Yeah, this one disturbed me as I did it, and I kind of
She's a
hope that
victim and she's dead and she's an
she's a victim.
angel.
I hoped it disturbed everyone. The sort of irony. I think that's irony. I don't know. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, there's an afterlife, and that it's limited to Homo sapiens, and which go back about 200,000 years. And so then you
So there's no
figure,
doggies in heaven?
well, I think there's going to be dumped in heaven, but this is just for the sake of argument. So you figure about 110 billion. That's what they say. 110 billion Homo sapiens have lived in the last 200,000 years. And you figure a homicide rate, world homicide rate is 1%, which sounds small right now, but it's probably higher. Uh, let's say 2%. So that means at least 2 billion people in the afterlife are victims of homicide, and agreeing with her. And maybe more if you count war as homicide. There's a lot of people who have died and are sort of um, whether or not you believe in an afterlife, they're condemning us for not doing something about it. So that's what I'm trying to get across there.
Well, very good. And unfortunately, that one is also a very liberal cartoon.
Hmm.
This one, Monty, is interesting because this is the most popular cartoon you've ever drawn in your many years with Kegel cartoons. Take a step back and say, why is this your most popular cartoon? This is Skip Loader pushing a house off of a cliff, a lovely rocky cliff. And it says tipping point, question mark. And the sign pointing at it says, rising mortgage rates, rising home prices, rising construction costs, low inventory. This just seems to be what editors really wanted to say. I think of your work as being so hard-hitting and distinctive, and this is, this is a middle-of-the-road newspaper cartoon that is not your kind of thing, except those rocks are wonderful.
Yeah, is that funny? There's three reasons that this might have been successful. Editors like bulldozers. That could be a reason. People are concerned, or editors believe that people are concerned about housing, which they are. Housing prices going up and about to crash.
Well, that's a
'Cause
major part of the newspapers. They all have big
yeah,
real estate sections. They all cover the housing and money stuff in disproportion.
I don't think its popularity had anything to do with any of those reasons. Though I think it's people like gravel. People like
Yeah,
gravel.
that's great gravel.
That's the thing there. This prominently features gravel. It's down to
I
earth,
think you
as
really
it
took
were.
joy in doing the gravel on this.
I did. I took great joy in doing it.
Okay.
It took a couple of days just to do the gravel.
This is your second most popular cartoon ever, and you've been with us like 15 years, Monty. Um, your number one and number two cartoon of the whole 15 years. Has it been 15 years?
It seems like it's been longer than that. I think to 98,
Time just crawls by.
to 1998. Is that 15 years? Yeah, it is.
We
Matter of fact, no, wait a minute. 98. That's
we
20,
we
that's 25 years.
we hadn't started yet in 1998.
Oh, okay.
We
Okay.
started in
That
2001.
that was the preliminary things.
So
Um,
this is Monty's second most popular cartoon, and the firemen are pointing their hose at the hospital that's on fire and smoking, and one fireman says, "There's no fire, it's just healthcare workers burning out."
Healthcare workers burning out. One of my neighbors did just that. She stayed in the business, but she was in she was working in an ER in a COVID ward, and it just got to her because those people are not compensated. Our most expensive system in the world is unable to cope with the vicissitudes of epidemics and pandemics, and ER workers take the brunt with high stress and long hours. So that's what I was trying to get across.
And that's also, probably the top topic that editors want is healthcare for their elderly audience that's mostly interested in that. So of course editors are going to want this.
Yeah,
I get it. Okay, this cartoon is Lena the hyena, and I put this in here because you have such a famous cartoonist father, and this is one of the most famous cartoons ever. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about this. This is known as the ugliest girl in the world, and give us some history on this, Monty.
in 1946, my dad had been working in comic books for years, so he was an established comic book cartoonist. But he entered this contest. The Lena the Hyena contest was devised by Al Cap in his strip Little Abner. And the sequence of events leading up to it was this was supposed to be Lower Slavovia's, the fictitious country of Lower Slavovia's ugliest lady. And they wouldn't show her face and they wouldn't show her face. So they had a contest. They ran a contest where various artists submitted ideas about what Lena looked like.
I should
It's not,
add that at this time, Al Cap was drawing Little Abner, and Lena the hyena was a popular character that you never saw in Little Abner, and Little Abner was just crazy popular. This was like on the top rung of American popular cultural stuff. So this was a contest that captivated the nation. This was a big deal.
and the judges of the contest were no less than Boris Karloff, Salvador Dali, and Frank Sinatra. I told someone that and they said, "No, I don't believe it." I said, "No, I have a New York Times article here that says that." And they said, "Well, if the New York Times said it, I believe it then." So that's back when people believed those things. Uh, and anyway, he won first prize. He got a lot of publicity over this. It was published in Life magazine. He ran some other features in Mad magazine, and his career took a turn from regular comic books to sort of a more illustrative thing, caricatures, and this type of work at that time in the late 40s and the early 50s. The prize
They
for the
must have gotten
contest,
tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of entries to this contest because, Lil Abner
yeah,
was
I
so
don't know.
ubiquitous.
Jack Davis submitted an entry. He submitted, I think, 3 entries. And he's a big name. There were several big names that submitted entries. I would like to see his entries, but I don't. He threw them away, I guess. I asked him once. Um, so, but the prize was $500, and my father got several hundred fan letters from it, and he answered every one of them. It took him more time to answer the fan letters than to do the cartoon, but he did that because that was the kind of a guy he was. So anyway,
Well, this made a
there she
career
is.
for him, and it's what, launched him into Mad Magazine.
It did. Yes, and he did. There's a cover of Mad Number 11, which is similar to this, and some people think it's Lena, but it's not Lena. Look up Mad Number 11, you'll see the difference.
I do remember that, and that's also, very famous. Well,
So there we go.
I just wanna reiterate that, Monty is, doing crowdfunding on our site, and it's at kegel.com/Wolverton. And as our clients die off, we want to see if we can ask the fans to support the cartoonists that they love. And Monte is a great cartoonist for so many years, and he's really established his, I want to say unique style, but you look so much like your dad. Uh, and he's uh,
It's
he's great, and he's
it's
got
sort of a
an
family company kind of thing, you know?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just, I want the cartoonists to draw stronger cartoons, and we wanted to lead off on cartoonist crowdfunding with Monty because he's he is very much on the left, and he draws very strong cartoons, and he's very unique, and I think that he's someone that should have a supportive fan base and someone that I would really hate to lose from editorial cartooning. And we want to keep him drawing, and we really appreciate your support at kegel.com/Wolverton. And Monty, tell us some more.
Well, at times, this has been a challenging profession. It has never been really enough to make a full-time job out of. You have to come up with a certain number of cartoons every week, whether you feel like it or not. Daryl knows what this is like as well as all my colleagues. You might be having other problems. You might be having all sorts of family problems and deaths and illnesses and stuff, but you still have to go to the drawing board or the computer and come up with something that's interesting and is cogent and is accurate and newsworthy. I don't want to say it takes a lot out of you. Actually, I find it energizing. But I think the challenging part is that you have to do that no matter how you feel. And I heard that somewhere. I heard that that's a difference between a professional and an amateur. As a professional comes through with something, whereas the amateur, can do it if he wants to, or she can take it or leave it, which is fine. It's fine because by definition, amateur is something you love, but the professional has to come through with this every day or however often. So that's the difference. That's my observation on that those type of businesses and editorial cartooning in particular.
Well, we love you, Monty, and we want you to keep drawing. Don't ever quit, and be as hard-hitting as you want, even if we can't get the newspapers to print them.
Okay, I'll continue to do that. In fact, I think I have it. I think I'm late on the next cartoon, aren't I?
Oh, you're always late, Monty. So,
Oh, thank you.
thank you so much for being with us and being with Monty. And everyone, please remember to subscribe to KegelCast. Go to kegelcast.com. But wherever you're watching this, please just click the subscribe button so that you don't miss us. And we will continue to have conversations with wonderful, great top pros like Monty Wolf. And please do go to kegel.com/Wolverton, and you can read some more from Monty and see an archive of all of his work. And I hope that you will choose to support Monty with a couple bucks or whatever you want to do. And Monty will write you a nice thank you, and we'll put you on our mail list, and you'll get to see all of Monty's cartoons and all of our cartoons in your mailbox so that you don't ever have to think to go somewhere for it. And hey, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Monty.
Thank you, Daryl. It's been great fun.
Okay, that's the end, and we'll see you on the next KegelCast.